All right, has this man lost his mind? He traded a RAV4 even for the Subaru Crosstrek, a new one, 2021. Now this is a Crosstrek Sport, so it's pretty much top of the line one. Of course, they're all-wheel drive. It's comparable to the Mazda CX-90, which I just did a video on. Relatively similar type car. The CX-90 that I checked out the other day was a lower end one. The guy paid 25 grand. These listed about the same, but this is a Sport. This is the fancy version. But like I say, he traded his late model RAV4 even for it because he wasn't satisfied with the RAV4 in Vermont. The RAV4, he didn't like the handling. They got kind of rocky back and forth. But the main thing was, both of them were all-wheel drive. The RAV4, he even had studded snow tires. And he got stuck in the snow, and he got stuck in the mud, and he's never been stuck with this. You gotta realize Subaru was the first massive pioneer of all-wheel drive systems. As far as I'm concerned, for the money, they make the best all-wheel drive system. Now, there are things out there on Porsches and Audis that are insane technology, but it also blows your pocketbook when you see how much the things cost. This is a lower priced vehicle. I mean, they start at 25 grand. You might get 4 wheels for a Porsche and Audi for that. Not the whole car, especially not a new one. So in the snow and mud of Vermont, he's much happier with this car. He tried out the RAV4, he didn't like it, he likes this better. There are certain niches for certain vehicles. There are quite a few people I met that didn't like how the RAV4 rode. Realize that even though this is all-wheel drive, subcompact SUV crossover, blah, 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 it's based on a Subaru Impreza sedan. So it actually has a lot better ride than the RAV4. You can see, this is a unibody construction. It's all based on the sedan. They just turned it into a crossover. And I've just been told by the owner and his wife over here that she got nauseous in the RAV4 from the rocking, and she said she hasn't got nauseous in this yet, and that's his main passenger. So, I mean, they do ride better. Now, interestingly enough, when they first came out with these, people loved them, but they said they can't get out of their own way. Well, they fixed that, as you see on his. As you can see here, 2.5 liter. So it's got the same size 4-cylinder engine as his RAV4 did, 2.5 liter. But depending on if you're driving city or highway, this thing gets 3 to 4 miles per gallon better gas mileage. RAV4s are somewhat boxier, heavier, so he gets better gas mileage, but at the same time, it handles better. And yes, it's the 4-cylinder Subaru Boxer engine. They fixed head gasket problems decades ago. They don't have head gasket problems anymore. You want something like this. You want a 2.5 liter normally aspirated, because if you look at it, it's not turbocharged. As we look at the front, what's this? It's all metal, because it's got a metal timing chain running the engine. That's what you want. The problem with older Subarus are they had rubber timing belts, and they're interference engines. The belt breaks, goes the engine. Well, because of this design, this crazy Boxer design, 2 cylinders here, 2 cylinders here opposed, changing the timing belt on these Boxer engines was a real pain in the butt. And often people would get them changed, they get the car back and it run like crap because the mechanics did a lousy job. They were not that easy to replace timing belts on correctly. They're not as simple as, say, a Toyota that's got the crank, cam on the top. Simple. They wear out a little bit faster, but they're extremely hard to set up perfectly. Gotta have all the Subaru locking tools. A lot of guys say they could put them on, they'd put them on, they'd never run right again. Check engine light would come on, time it'd be off. You don't have to think about it as long as you change your oil every 5,000 miles and use that new GF6 oil. That's all you gotta do to maintain these. Interesting enough, this has a CVT transmission in it. So there's no gears. But it's Toyota had that newer Toyota 8-speed automatic transmission, which a lot of people don't like. They're made to maximize gas mileage. That's why they have all those extra speeds, to get better gas mileage. But in order to achieve it, it's always got to be an optimal gear for optimal gas mileage. So they're always hunting for gears, and they feel kind of sloppy a lot of times. Now, if you want, you can put it into manual mode, shift it yourself, and it won't have the sloppiness anymore. But there goes your gas saving down the toilet because you're going to be revving it up higher. This does it by itself with the CVT transmission. The newer CVTs are definitely an improvement over the older ones. As we open the door, zoom in a little, you go by the VIN number. The VIN number is JF2. That means it was made in Japan. There's nothing better than a Japanese vehicle made in Japan. Now, I don't know why this is the case, but it is. So the JF means it's made in Japan, right? But if it was made in the United States, it would say 4S instead. Now, to me, that's not very fair. Should have said America, United States. not 4S. They're just doing that because they don't want you to know that it was put together here. But on the positive side, the ones that are put together here in Indiana, the engines and transmissions are still built in Japan. They just ship them over and then they put the car together here. It's not like they're building everything from scratch. You get the same quality engines and transmissions. They're just put together here, kind of like a Lego set. Take a look inside, see what you get. Sounds solid. Nice black. Little gold trim here because it's sport. Start her up. Sounds like a Subaru, that's for sure. And of course, it's got a nice screen. And I like the screen. This is a screen that is integrated to the dash, right? This isn't some ugly thing that's sticking out on a bump that even blocks your view. It is integrated where it should be. And the things you want to see, there they are up here. You don't have to look all over the place. It's pretty well set up. So it's got a sunroof if you go for that stuff. It doesn't impress me. But it's got various modes for snow. It has heated seats. The wife was cold. We'll turn that off. We don't need that now. Steering wheel for all kinds of modes. It's got everything on it. Fancy warning SOS system and everything on it if you get in a wreck. Comfy, stylish seats in the front. Check out the back seat. Quite a bit of room. Very stylish back seat. It's got a usual subcompact trunk. And of course, like every Subaru made except for their little racy cars, it's all-wheel drive. That's why he got it. He's never got stuck with this in the same places that he's got stuck with the RAV4. Subaru does have a better designed all-wheel drive system. Where he lives, he needs it. My son went to the University of Vermont. Boy, I tell you, it snows there and it gets really cold. That's where Subarus come into their own. That's how they started in the United States. They were originally a niche car. People in Colorado buy them. People in Vermont would buy them. Anyways, out in the country, going in snow, going to mountains, they love buying these things. They kind of got off track for a while and started putting those 6-cylinder engines that they have problems. And then they got in a little bit of trouble with that, but now they seem to be going back to their roots and they know what they're doing. Got a decent sized camera, not something puny thing. Now as we get on the road, we can see, hey, it's not overly high and it's certainly not low. As we go over my big lump, it doesn't drag anything. Got that Subaru sound. It does have a CVT. Now, I mean, a lot of cars do. If you want, look, you can put it in manual mode if you want, and you can shift it yourself. It's got paddle shifters here. You want to go down, you go down. You want to go up. There it goes. Now realize, of course, that's fake shifting. It's a CVT, it doesn't have any gears, but it acts like it does to increase acceleration. You can manually do it. Now you'll notice, camera's kind of bouncing around. Hey, it's a subcompact crossover. They all bounce around. My Matrix bounces around. The CX-90 I drove the other day, it bounces around. They are bouncy vehicles. Doesn't bother me, but some people it bothers. It does have that horrible start-stop, and it just stopped. I hate that, but we're gonna try acceleration out with the CVT and a 2.5 liter engine. Here we go. Not bad considering the engine had stopped and then it started again. So you really can't complain. It does have decent acceleration. You're just tiddling along and you step on the gas. It goes pretty fast. And as you corner, they are fun to drive. It does handle quite a bit better than a RAV4. I do have to agree. He didn't like the handling. He didn't like the rocking back and forth because it made his wife seasick. Now, she admitted she didn't get seasick yet with him driving, but if she was with me driving like this, she probably would get seasick. When you're going uphill, step on the gas, it picks up and goes. That is why they put the 2.5 liter engine in. 4 with the smaller engine, they barely got out of their own way. It's fun to drive. It's got plenty enough zip when you step on the gas. And noise level, about average for one of these. They're not quiet, they're not loud. It's about average. You get a subcompact crossover SUV, they're always a little bit on the noisy side. I mean, if you didn't like noise, you could also insulate it like I show in some of my videos. You can buy sound insulation and get it insulated if you want. It'll be a lot quieter. They don't put that much in them. The ride's perfectly fine. It's just the bumps you're gonna feel, but all of these, like I say, every single little subcompact SUV crossover is going to feel the bumps when you hit bumps on the road. That's just the nature of the beast. It's all-wheel drive. It's a relatively short wheelbase. It's going to have a relatively rough ride on bumpy roads. The Subarus never got them stuck in the mud or stuck in the snow, and the RAV4 did, so that's one of the reasons he traded it in even for this. Okay, so what's my conclusion? Is the man insane for trading a RAV4 for this thing? In his case, no. He loves his wife and she's not getting seasick, so that's reason enough, you know? Gets better gas mileage, doesn't get stuck in the snow. lives where it snows all the time, gets better gas mileage, and they're both 2.5 four-cylinder engines. One's a boxer, the other's an inline, but this gets better gas mileage. I've seen Subarus go 300,000 miles, just like Toyotas. They can last a really long time, as long as you change the oil regularly. So really, not that bad of an idea. He just swapped even. Now, in terms of pure money, if he really wanted to, he probably could have sold the RAV4 for more and then bought this instead of trading it in. That's what I would have done. I'm more of a horse trader, you know. But still, they're interesting vehicles because they're based on a car. They're not being based on a truck. They're based on a car, and they ride more like a car, and they get better gas mileage like a car, too. The higher up they go, the more they weigh, the worse the gas mileage. This isn't particularly high, and it gets pretty good gas mileage for an SUV. That's normal. There's no hybrid anything here. It can run a really long time. You don't have to worry about the hybrid system breaking. It's going to cost a small fortune to fix when it goes out. Subaru, being the true mass producers of all-wheel drive systems throughout history, I don't think he's going to have any problems with that. Hey, maybe it wasn't such a stupid idea after all. Now here's an oldie but a goodie, a 2003 Honda CRV. When they started out making little SUVs, obviously they did something right because the RAV4s are generally numero uno, and the CRVs are right behind them in terms of sales in the United States. But interestingly enough, this used one that was just purchased was made in Great Britain. Look, it's made in the UK, 5 of 03. Well, everybody knows anything about anything knows the Brits don't build things all that great, but in this case, it's a Honda factory. The engine's transmissions are not built in Great Britain, right? They come from Japan. They're basically assembled there, and anybody can bolt stuff together. You know, a lot of people don't even know that tons of Formula One race car stuff are done in Great Britain because the British are nuts about racing, and all kinds of companies actually design and build them in the UK. And in this case, they obviously did something right because it's an old car and it still runs like a clock, right? Now, this is a standard front-wheel drive. Back in the day, people really weren't that nuts about all-wheel drive. And you can see, it's a nice small to mid-size SUV. I say small to mid-size because quite a bit more space than our Matrix does, and it's an 07. Spare tire on the back, which I love. Look at all the space, and then you drop the seats down, you got even more space. And these side doors are really handy for cargo, especially ladies. You're putting grocery in and you gotta lift up anything. It's way down here. It gives you all that space. Easy to access. And as we go inside, you can see it's a conventional Honda. It's got fabric seats, AC still works, automatic transmission, which most Americans have. It has the original tape deck and CD radio. You're still using it. Start her up. And you can say, baby's got 121,944 miles on it. Back in the old days, you got cruise control on the steering wheel. You know, come on, that's what people did. He added this nice little Honda steering wheel cover over the old wheel. Nice parking brake. Oh, I like this parking brake. It's so cool. Look, it is the coolest. It's space age. That's your parking brake. Mechanical, not electronic. As we look under the hood, the mainstay of this is its Honda engine. It's a 2.4 liter inline 4, intelligent variable valve timing, and as you can see, these things can last forever. Doesn't burn oil, and the old Honda transmissions that are in these, the automatic transmissions are pretty durable. Personally, I've never seen a CRV go through one of their transmissions. I've seen some Accords and stuff go through transmissions, but I've never seen CRV actually burn out a transmission. They're pretty solid vehicles. So start up and listen to it. You can hear just a little bit of clicking, which is typical. Nothing outrageous, but understand this about Hondas. Hondas have old style cams with valve rockers that are adjustable with nuts and screws. You loosen the nut, you screw them in, you adjust them. Every once in a while you have to manually get them adjusted. This one could do with it. It's not going to blow up or anything, but eventually it should have its valves adjusted. Now, theoretically you're supposed to adjust the valves on them too, but they have overhead cams that sit on stainless steel shims that open and close the valves. Those shims are really well made, and they tell you you're supposed to adjust them. Well, guess what? Even on my 94 Celica with 240,000 miles, I've never adjusted the valves because that stainless steel crap lasts so long that you really don't have to. Oh, a couple years ago, I thought, let's, for giggles, see what it's like on that Celica. So I took the valve cover off and I measured them, and none of them were out of specification. So on the Hondas, no. Every once in a while, you got to adjust the valves. And at least this is an inline 4, easy to work on. It's not a V6 that has half of the cylinders hidden and you got to pull the intake. It's not that bad of a job adjusting the valves on this. It would need it at some point in time. It's not running bad, but that's just the way Hondas are. After 100-something thousand miles, it's a good idea to get your valves adjusted. Got the original AC, other than somebody left the caps off. It still blows ice cold. Most everything you see under here is still original. Brake master cylinder, except he did replace the front struts. They will bounce around. You can see he got entire strut assembly and bolted them out. Now, like everything else, the newer CRVs are getting bigger and bigger. Everything is getting too damn big, if you ask me. This is a smaller one. The new ones are bigger, just like the RAV4s. They started out smaller, and then somehow they expanded and got bigger and bigger. There's still an awful lot of room in this thing. Because of its age, we're going to hook up my fancy computer and see exactly what shape this thing is in. So, we'll start up our tail scanner here. We'll just turn the key off and then turn it on so just the idiot lights are on. Here it comes. Auto detect. It's an old car, so it'll take a while to really hook it up because it is an 03. Diagnostic system is initializing itself so we can scan it. You can see the topology is small. It's an old car. It's not going to do all the stuff a new one does, but we'll see what it says. 40% done. It's got 2 codes. It's reading. We'll look around. The plastic's held up pretty good. It's not all cracked or sticky or anything. Like I say, the seats are still in good shape. The armrests are still here. Oh, the power windows work. Well, it's done scanning. It's only got 2 codes, so let's see what they are. PCM. Okay, permanent. Automatic transmission system malfunction. Could be any of a million different things. So we'll go to the other side and look at the automatic transmission. Hopefully it'll give us more information. It says the 3rd pressure switch failed. And the machine shows that the P0845 can be a faulty circuit to the transmission, a faulty transmission fluid pressure sensor switch, or a faulty transmission control module. In this case, he's not having any real problems with the transmission, so we're going to road test it. And before we do, we'll erase the code. You never know. We bought this thing used. We have no idea if anybody has messed around with it and maybe not reset the computer or maybe changed the battery because the battery voltage is low and it can trip code. So, see now the codes are all erased. They didn't come back. So, we're going to look at live data before we road test it. We'll start her up. PCM, ECM, and we will look at live data. Here we go. We're going to go through the live data. As usual, black is good, red is bad. It's a map sensor system instead of a MAF sensor. Fuel trim isn't bad. Short-term fuel trim, it's adding 1.05. Long-term, it's adding 1. Not bad for an old car. A lot of times they'll add a little fuel because the fuel injectors are a little bit worn. Old age, but hey, it runs good. It gets good gas mileage. It doesn't burn oil, so it's in pretty good shape. It's got good charging voltage. You can say it's an old car, but it's still got a reasonable amount of data to it. Fuel injector milliseconds, spark advance, NOx sensor, misfired cylinder 000. All in all, the thing's in pretty good shape. It may be 21 years old, but 121,000 miles. That's kind of low mileage for a Honda that old. So it didn't have tons of miles put on it, and it seems to have been taken care of quite well. Doesn't burn oil. We'll take it for a road test. Now, first thing, check this out. Old car, right? Does it shake? No. We'll take it to our little drag strip, but hey, he did put front struts on it, so it is riding quite nicely. They do wear out eventually. I mean, it's 21 years old, 121,000 miles. The struts are going to be worn somewhat. It handles good. Now, of course, it handles nothing like a modern one. They've gone a long way in the last 21 years with suspension systems, but hey, it's still a fun little car to drive around in. I don't hear any wheel bearing noises. They're still in good shape. Sure, the brakes will work. It's a Honda. They work perfectly fine. And that code about 3rd gear, I don't really see anything because it's like I just shifted into 3rd gear. You couldn't even feel it, so it can't be anything serious. I'm assuming it was because somebody either fixed the solenoid or the battery got dead and they didn't reset it right. There's nobody behind us. There was, but there isn't anymore. And let's see what this little Honda can still do. Building up momentum. Smooth shift. Not a race car, but say you're going 50. You want to pass somebody. We'll floor it. We're going 60 now. Not a race car, but hey, you can cruise all day long at 80 if you want. Look, no hands. Handle the road good. All this mileage, hey, it's still pretty quiet going down the road for a little SUV. He got himself a really good deal on this. Sure, it's used, but man, Whoever owned it before him took care of it. Now, we heard a little clunk when we went over a bump, so when we get back, we're going to jack up. Came from the passenger side. We'll look under there. Rubber bushings are the first suspect. They get old, crack, and dry. Now, we heard the clunking noise over here, so jack the tire up in the air and start with the simple stuff. It's not ball joints or tie rods, that's fine. The sway bar, the rubber's getting kind of cracked. It's touching metal. Take the sway bar completely off and replace the bushing there and the bushing there. If you really want to get rid of the noise, you'd have to replace the lower control arm because you can see the metal here. Okay, that's touching the metal here. And that's going to be making a clunking noise too. It's nothing to worry about, especially since this thing had been in the front end wrecked at one point in time. This could be bent a little bit here more. You can see where they re-welded it. And so this metal piece is hitting this metal piece. It isn't going to hurt anything at all. I wouldn't particularly worry about it, but that would be a noise creator too. Well, like I say, not that big of a deal. We'll look at the other side. See, on this side, notice it's not touching the metal because this one is okay. See, there's a big gap here. On the other one, this was touching the metal. And that's where a lot of the noise is coming from. I wouldn't particularly worry about it. I mean, if you wanted to be a fanatic, yeah, it's expensive lower control arm. And it's probably because it was wrecked. You can see this one wasn't bashed in like the other side. So during the wreck, it must have hit this side more. 21-year-old Honda CRV. Yeah, it was hitting the front and that little piece is bent and it's hitting the front of the lower control arm bushing. It's not going to hurt anything. It still could go a long way. There's a lot of life left in this thing. If you could ever find one with this kind of low mileage, my advice, even if you don't know if you're going to keep it, get a good price, buy it, because you can always sell it at a profit to somebody else. People love these things. There's a lot of guys that are looking for the older ones because they're simpler. They don't have all the anti-pollution crap on them. And if you live in a northern state and you buy one of these and bring it in, usually you will get a waiver and then you won't have to get any pollution control things fixed. I know in Rhode Island that's the case. So a lot of guys will come to the south, buy a car, bring it to Rhode Island and not have to deal with the government bureaucracy of an emissions inspections every year because the car is too old but still in good shape. This is a brand new CX-90. They went to an inline straight 6-cylinder. They wanted to make an SUV that has plenty of low-end grunt, smooth running, but still gets good gas mileage. This is a fancy model, the inline 6, and has a mild hybrid system. It's a boost system to give it more horsepower. And it's got plenty of horsepower. 340 to be exact. Now we can't see it because it's got this stupid beauty cover on it. So the beauty cover's going away. I won't throw it because it's a new car. I'll gently place it on the ground. And here is the monster behind it. It's turbocharged. It is an inline 6. It can go great for rear-wheel drive. Oh, this is all-wheel drive. It does all 4 wheels. You can't really fit an inline transverse if you got a front-wheel drive. So they decided, hey, we got plenty of room. And they went rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive with the 6-cylinder engine. As you can see, the back's way down here. It won't fit sideways. Now, those of you who are BMW fans generally love the smoothness of the BMW 6-cylinder engines. Now, this guy had a BMW, and he loved driving it until it got about 60,000 miles and turned into an endless money pit. Not the engine, but the rest of the car. BMW still makes pretty good engines. It's all the electronics and plastic crap that fall apart on, which is why I tell people not to buy them. This is another story. As you can see on the door, this baby was made in Japan by Japanese. That's what you want. And check the interior. I mean, it's beautiful. White, black stripe, chrome. Look at all the space in the back. And I mean space. Look at this. There's another row of seats too. They got it down. They're bringing their dog with them. But there is all kinds of space in this thing. You can see it's beautifully appointed. It's got a really nice armrest for the second row seats. And hey, this thing can carry an awful lot of stuff. It's a big vehicle. Yet driving it over here, they got 31 miles a gallon. No, I'm lying. They got 30.9 miles a gallon. Big 300 plus horsepower engine. Yet it's still got that kind of gas mileage. And this is an EPA rated gas mileage. This is actual gas mileage driving on the highway. Start it up. Now, if you know anything about Mazdas, they got a big relationship going with Toyota. So not only are they beautiful cars with beautiful colors, which they're known for, Mazda really has a thing for their paint and paint colors. This thing's beautiful. And the styling too. First they made the styling and their cars were okay, but now with their Toyota Lynx. Some of these are actually better than the Toyotas. Truthfully, driving this thing around, it feels like my wife's old Toyota Crosstrek, which was also a 6-cylinder inline, and she still wants that car back. Well, the paint faded, the leather seats cracked, so we got rid of it, but it was still running fine. Let's take it for a spin and I'll show you. Of course, you know, it's gonna start up. And the first thing you're gonna see is, look at the phenomenal backup camera. Wide angle view, and there's the matrix, there's my trunk motorcycle. As you back up, everything moves. If you run into something, it's your own fault for being stupid. You don't notice anything. It's so smooth. 6-cylinder engines idle great, but when you step on the gas, they start to take off. We're gonna wait till we get to the drag strip for that, but it's high enough up in the air, not too high, but high enough. You're not gonna have problems with water. It's got all the modern stuff like this heads-up display. There's a speedometer, and of course, being a modern-day Mazda, handles like a dream. You wouldn't think you're driving something as big as this thing actually is. And the fact that they got 30.9 miles a gallon driving it over, it tells you, hey, this is no gas hog yet. It's got a tremendous amount of power. And it's power you can use. You don't have to wait for the turbo to spool up. It does have a turbo, but it also has, look at that. It also has mild hybrid to give it a boost. So, you got the hybrid boost and the turbo boost, so this thing does not lag. Your acceleration is real acceleration from the get-go. Not, oh, you gotta wait till it starts winding up. It's a pretty well-designed vehicle. It does have the start-stop, which I don't like, but then again, it's hybrid, so it doesn't really bother a hybrid much. You're not wearing the starter out because it uses the hybrid to start it up. Let's see what it does at the drag strip. Here we go. Smooth. Look at that. Say you're going down the road, you gotta pass somebody. We'll floor it. Look how fast the speedometer gets going. It is definitely a non-lag vehicle. It does not have leg. You want to go? Step on the gas and it goes. Even though it's starting to run a little low on gas now, check it out. It's still got 100 miles left before it'll run out of gas. There is no range anxiety with this baby. You can go long distances very comfortably. These seats are phenomenally comfortable. And how does it handle the curves? We're about to find out. It says it's supposed to go 20, we're going 55. Check it out. Handles like a dream. No problem taking the 20 curve. None. Hugs the road. Being a Mazda, I do have to say, zoom, zoom, indeed. Now, Mazda's going for a certain type of clientele here. This guy had European cars. He liked driving them, but he hated the maintenance. His friends, Mercedes, BMWs, he hates that maintenance. He decided to try a Mazda, and so far he said he's happy as can be. You can see it's instant acceleration with the combination of the turbocharger and the hybrid boost. This baby gets up and goes without emptying your wallet. I will give you one warning. You want to get the full power out of this, you got to run it on premium gas because of its design. If you get the non-S version, it'll run on regular gas perfectly fine. There's no difference in the engine between S and the plain version. They're the same exact engine. So if you're not opting for racehorse crazy, well, what the heck? You can buy the regular version and run it on gasoline and save a lot of money when you fill it up. And here we go on the other side of the airport. Well, we're at the speed limit already. That didn't take long. It's got a nice screen that's below the hood, so it doesn't block anything while you're driving. And I do have to say, like I said before, I like the heads up. The heads up is pretty good here. I can see the speed limit. I can see how fast I'm going to compare to the speed limit here. Now, for those of you who are technically challenged, realize it gives you the speed limit with the speed limit sign only in areas where it's supported. You get in the middle of nowhere, they don't broadcast it, so you'll only get yours. I tried it in Death Valley and it didn't do anything. When I rented a RAV4, it wouldn't work there, of course. There's nothing there. You don't even have cell phone service in most of Death Valley. And we're coming up on a stop sign, so you'll see something interesting in a second probably. Here we go. We're coming up to the stop sign, and there it's got the stop sign and puts a stop sign here warning you that yes indeed, if you're not looking, there is a stop sign you're supposed to stop for. Extremely smooth riding car. As my rear end tells me, I thought it felt cool. It's got air conditioned seats too. The air conditioning's on. Does both sides, driver and passenger. And as we turn it off, yes, it has an actual 8-speed automatic transmission. This is not a CVT crapper. This is an actual 8-speed, and it performs excellently. This has got all the bells and whistles. You can cancel the road safety warning, traction control. It's got everything. Electric auto hold, all kinds of HVAC controls. Pretty well thought out car. What do I think of it? Well, it's got one major flaw. It costs $61,900, and I'm a cheapskate, right? I'll wait till they get used once on the market, because I'm a cheapskate. But considering what the average car costs, $46,000 to $50,000, this is not an average car. It is a luxury SUV. And if you ask me, their competition against the Europeans, this will eat them alive. If you remember, back in the day when Lexus first made the 400 series V8 engine, right? The second year they sold those cars in the United States, they outsold BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Porsche, all put together. As a luxury SUV, as far as I'm concerned, this kicks the Europeans' rear ends. I know how these Mazdas tend to last, especially since they've had this deal going with Toyota. This isn't going to fall apart like his BMW did at 60,000 miles. I do not see that happening, and I can feel this 6-cylinder engine. It is under stress. It's not going to wear out because it's too small of an engine. 10% larger than most of them. It's bigger than 3 liters, right? They wanted smoothness, they wanted power, and they came out with a pretty good package. As far as I can see, it's a brand new model. Who knows? Maybe I'll look like a fool and they'll fall apart, but I kind of doubt it. Not after driving this thing, feeling it, and doing research on all the technology of what Mazda's been doing with Skyactiv technology. Very interesting car if you got $61,900 to throw out. So I'll put the beauty cover back on, but I think it's stupid. Why would anybody not want to look at this beautiful engine? It's beyond me. At least this one has knobs to hold it in. For the knob heads that designed them. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.